Good day, Dragon Slayers. I am delighted today to have with us an author, a new author, Bruce Hanlon, who has had the courage to write fiction. And I'm presuming by his lovely surroundings, he lives in Bend, Oregon, that he's not making money yet in writing fiction. He's lived and probably done very well before that. But Bruce, tell our audience a little bit about your background and how did you get to writing novels at this point?
Oh, that's a big question. Background first. I was born in Altadena, California. Grew up there, a lovely town. I came into this world at a pound and a half, so I'm lucky to be alive, Doc, at this point. Um,
You came into the world with what?
at a pound and a half.
Oh my God.
I was a little tight. They didn't know what to do with me back then. Uh, I think they put me in a chicken incubator. Uh, uh, they kept me there for 6 weeks. So I'm lucky to be alive.
And it seems obvious that your vision has not been impacted by that.
Well, no, no. I have had several health issues that have derived from coming into this world. That small respiratory issues and whatnot. But nevertheless, I'm here and I've had a tremendous life. Um, I do have two older brothers who live in Northern California and a younger sister who has dual citizenship and is living in Italy. Um, I grew up enjoying sports of all kinds, particularly baseball. I was a normal kid, maybe a little mischievous at times, but I was a normal young man. Um,
So, what position did you play?
Mainly first base. Mainly first base.
How tall? I was also a first baseman. How tall are you?
Well, I was 6'1" and a half. Uh,
Uh huh.
Over the years, I've shrunk to a small 5'11". Just
Don't we all? Gravity has its impact. Okay. Did you play varsity ball in high school?
yes, I did. Um, but I gave up my senior year of playing baseball, um, um, thinking that I would eventually get back to it later on. Uh, I became involved with. Uh, I don't know if you're familiar with the group Up with People. It's an international performing group that traveled all over the world performing. Um,
Oh, so you were a singer and a dancer?
well, I was on stage, Doc, but to tell you the truth, I have a voice only a deaf mother would appreciate. So anytime I was near a microphone, I turned it off.
So you and I share a background. So I was a singer and a dancer, and I would compete for parts with people the likes of Madonna. I went to the University of Michigan. Well, it turned out, thank God, that I was. Yeah, the worst thing you want to be is in second place because you're always striving. I I think there was such a remote hope that I could make it on Broadway that my gift was multiple choice exams, which is how physicians are selected, and I'm absolutely bitching at multiple choice exams. So that's how I got to medical school. So Broadway's loss, I guess, is medicine's gain. So
Yeah, exactly.
you were a singer and dancer, and you traveled.
Well, I was on stage, traveling all over the world. Um, uh,
Did you do any acting?
no, 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 never did. For the most part, during my younger years, I was a shy little dweeb.
But yet you performed. You forced yourself through it. Uh-huh.
Yeah, that was the interesting fact. You know, um, During my high school years, um, education and I did not get along. I was a professional D minus student, but as a young high school student, and I was searching for answers. I was perplexed during those mid '60s and '70s. They were quite turbulent with the race riots and the war and whatnot. as an individual, I was looking for answers. So that's how I got involved with the international group of Up with People. Um, I found answers there, that we can alter the course of humanity and find the common good, and break down the barriers that separate us. So we traveled with them for many years.
Our shared roots is when I had to put myself as a junior in college. I stood out in the rain at 2 o'clock in the morning to hear John Kennedy give a campaign speech on the steps of the Michigan Union. And it was in that campaign speech that he first launched the idea of the Peace Corps. And I was so taken with that subsequent to my primary medical training, when I finished my internship, I entered the Peace Corps for the same reason. I wanted to do something. And at that time, if you're of that generation, you had a choice to die in Vietnam or to be in the Peace Corps. And quite obviously, I chose the Peace Corps.
Right, right. I to follow up on that, while I was traveling around the world, if you remember, they had that first draft lottery. They needed bodies to go to Vietnam, and I was, fortunately or unfortunately, the I think the second number picked.
Oh my God.
I was headed for the military, um, but um, I was thinking straightly. Instead of being drafted, I went ahead and enlisted, and that made a profound difference in the time that I had in the military.
Where did you enlist? And what did you do in the Army?
Well, they trained me as a a military grunt, infantry. But just before graduation, they trained me as a mortarman. Dropping rockets in those tubes, um, um, bombs.
Do you still have your hearing?
Yes, actually, that's one of the few things that I can do. Uh, by them doing that, that altered the rest of my military time. I was very, very, very fortunate, because they sent the whole base directly from Fort Ord, where I was training, straight to Vietnam, then straight to it. But I was fortunate. They ended up sending me to Colorado Springs. Um, and fortunately, my commanders there, they liked me. I had two orders that came in to go to Vietnam, but the base commander said, "No, you're not going." So I was truly fortunate.
But that's it. But Colorado Springs is Air Force Academy, is it not?
Yes, it is. Yeah, but there's a large Army base there as well.
So you're very fortunate. People of our generation who have emerged from that time frame without the extraordinary trauma of the Vietnam War. I was intensely angry about that war. I felt, you know, I'm a cultural anthropologist as well as a psychiatrist, and as I look back on that, uh, we have not had a just war really since World War II, and the only war we've won. Those of you out there that are highly militaristic is wait for this. We beat the crap out of Grenada, if you recall. so,
So true. So true.
so, I think the waste associated with these wars just blow me away. Well, you emerged from that, and then what? How did you go back to college?
No, not well. Yes, I did, a little bit later. Um, I When I got out of the service, I married married my lovely wife, Rachel. We were fortunately together for 47 great years. Um, I became a respiratory therapist, home care at that time. which was a tremendous job. I loved and honored it, but it was quite physically taxing, working all day and all night. So
You said you were together with Rachel for 47 years. Did she pass?
40, yes, yes. Unfortunately, 7 years ago, she passed. She fought cancer valiantly for 14 years.
Oh my God.
Just an amazing woman. She was only supposed to live but 6 months, and she stretched it out to 14 years.
How heroic. My God.
Yeah. Oh, I tell you, what that woman went through is
Yeah, I think
amazing. I
you don't get to this age without having witnessed that in a loved one, it seems. So, did you guys have kids?
Yes, three wonderful kids, um, two daughters, and a son. Um, I will say over those 47 years, we raised, addition to our kids, hundreds, if not thousands, of kids that became part of our home. Anyone's shadow that ever graced our front door was welcome, and we would feed and take care of folks. So um, three kids plus countless others, and I've been blessed with four grandchildren
Uh-huh.
and two great grandchildren. So the family continues to grow.
You're an amazing man, and you've done the job that God gave for us. You've raised kids and grandkids.
Yes, oh yes. It's difficult. You know, they all live in Southern California, um, but we do a lot of FaceTime and
Yeah, we share that. My daughter Rachel uh, lives in lives in your area code, San Diego.
oh,
Uh,
uh-huh.
and occasionally I can save enough pennies to go visit her. Uh, my issue with San Diego is that the police seem to target rental cars, and I got hit with an extraordinarily expensive ticket the last time I drove down there. That where I was not at fault, but we don't need to burden our audience with that story. But they love ticketing people who are out of state because we can't go back to the court and protest the tickets.
That's just pay it and go. Yeah, yeah, bite the bullet.
So you're a respiratory therapist. How did you get into your writing?
Well, this idea, this crazy idea, popped in my head, and I just started dabbling with it. Um, and my wife highly encouraged me to continue to write. And as I was writing, and this is a slow journey uh, in the writing. All of a sudden, I realized that my gosh, uh, um, current events is rapidly catching up to my storyline, even though it's sci-fi and mystery and cloak and dagger. I thought, oh my gosh, I better finish this book, otherwise it's going to become a history book and not a not a sci-fi. So
Okay. So the book that I saw featured on Amazon was The Final Word.
yes,
I love the title. Both of us who are authors, and I've dabbled in fiction, but I haven't had the temerity to throw a novel out there yet. Uh, but one of my favorite authors is John Irving, and I don't know if he wrote The World According to Garp and The Cider House Rules, and a wonderful book which I would encourage you to read, which is called A Prayer for Owen Meany. But Irving's philosophy as a writer is that you write the last sentence of the book first,
oh
and the final word, if you will, and then you shape the book on the journey to that last sentence.
yes, yes.
So tell us about the final word.
Well, as we know, it's a mystery. It's a sci-fi. Um, um, I wrote this book in hopes, with the title, that the story results in the ability for readers to reassimilate the horror of the book and to change perceptions and realities and how we look at ourselves, how we treat one another, how we live our lives, and how we care about our environment. You know, yeah, it is a book of action, it's drama and Cloak and Dagger. Um, but the story, in my hopes, has an underlying um, um, thought that we as humanity over the course of time we've had opportunities to um, change and live with global peace and understanding, but we tend to fail. So the book, um, will it change this paradigm in reality? Probably not. Um, can it help with our perceptions as human beings? Hopefully. Um, um, all of us have the profound ability to and the capacity to make decisions about life and how we live it and um, how we relate to those around us. We all have the same hopes, fears, dreams, and desires. Um, that's a basic fundamental in life, and it's the book will hopefully move readers into to reevaluating and thinking about where we are. Doc, as you look every day, whether it's the news or print media or social media, you know, things we're hurting as humanity, and it's not that I write this book out of moral superiority or righteousness. It's my hope and desire and quest to have people to start thinking about our lives and how we live it, and unfortunately we've become so immune and apathetic to things that are around us where we don't delve into making changes society wise and how we live our lives. We're so busy trying to live in the moment and just basically survive.
Well, certainly, and
So, given the alternatives, do we try to change the paradigm of humanity, or do we delve into living in this hate and corruption and the path that this journey that we're on? Um, that's kind of the underlying desire of the book. I don't know if you had a chance to read the about the reason for the book or not, but it explains my purpose in the writing of the book.
so your intent is to transform the reader by your message.
Well, yeah, to awaken, you know, restore some of that dignity and uh, the ability to rationally understand what's going on around us and maybe to accept the small responsibility to make changes. How do we look at each other? How do we respect and how can we relate to one another with dignity and decorum? That seems to be lost now. It's hard for people to even talk to one another, even to relate to one another. Um,
We share a time, and that is, I think, we're approximately the same age, and any conscious person who's living in America during the time that we've lived has a feeling that we're living a cautionary tale. Uh,
Oh, definitely.
but and yet some of us have found peace by living according to our own principles and making choices according to our own principles without regard to the craziness around us. What are your principles?
Basically, to treat people as I would want them to treat me. Um, I love and rejoice life and everything about it. From a bird in flight to a blade of grass. I revel in life and the journey that I've been blessed with. I love people. I rejoice in people. And uh,
Well, you seem to have a very solid spiritual anchor.
well, yes, certainly a believer, but uh, the book, though, in its journey, I have left it up to the readers to this point whether this is all divine intervention or if it's alien intervention. Uh, um, and I left it as a cliffhanger. So now I'm writing the sequel,
Uh-huh.
the final word. You know, I'm writing how this whole thing is going to end. Um, how is humanity going to survive this situation?
So, how much of this has been informed by the fascination of the story of the ancient aliens, von Daniken's work, and so on? Uh, and I think any conscious person can look at that stuff and at least be open to the possibility that we've had visitors.
Uh, oh, there's that what we see and know now. The unexplained events and situations and the structures and the science behind ancient civilizations. Uh, you know, I don't think there's no doubt that we did have visitors in the past, and how many people are seeing these sightings every day, and can everybody be wrong? I don't know. It's interesting, but my sequel will divulge in part some of that. Um, it is a sci-fi and a mystery and it'll finish that way.
Good, good. And so you obviously have enjoyed writing it, and you have plans for sequels.
Yes, well, I'm writing a sequel. It has been a pleasant journey in writing. I've never written anything before, so this has all been an education as I've gone along, particularly in the publishing aspect of it. But I do have four other novels. Once we finished this sequel, that are more fun and entertaining and enlightening. And I'm reveling in the opportunity to get those written and get them out there, even if it's for nonprofit. uh,
Have this is have you developed your own special civilization in these novels?
no, actually, the storyline kind of travels the here and now, um, a little advanced in history, uh, but no, it's quite relevant to society today and the things that are going around happening currently. That's why I was mentioning earlier that my gosh, my book is rapidly catching up to reality and going to be a history book instead of a mystery book. So um, it's I've drawn from my own experience and things that are happening around us. Um, um, there's a plethora of excitement and adventure, a little bit of romance.
This sounds wonderful. Sounds wonderful.
It's been fun. It's been fun. And I don't know, Doc, how these ideas pop into my head as I'm writing it, but fortunately or unfortunately, Doc, I write like I talk, which is quite verbose. So I can write 25 words where I could have said it in three. So uh, I'm learning to pare that back a little bit.
So how many pages is the final word?
Well, it's if in the whole book is 700 and 790 feet, I think.
Oh my God, man.
It's a monster. It's a monster. That's why Amazon, in their infinite wisdom, decided to split the book into volume one, volume two.
Oh, because older people probably couldn't lift it without help, I'm sure.
That's true. It's big.
S-
It's a big
So,
book. Uh,
how rapidly do you write? How many pages can you write in an hour?
you know, this is a dilemma. Um, uh, I I I can go from 1 page a day to 10 pages a day. It depends on my level of creativity and my thought pattern. Sometimes my mind gets in the way and I run off in tangents and whatnot. But uh, it's not as quick as I'd like. I'm finding that I've had a fascinating career in life with the respiratory therapy and 27 years with the Postal Service, and I'm finding that this now, Doc, has become another career.
Of course, of course.
I'm having to get up and go to the computer, and I got to write every day. Uh,
And that's a wonderful discipline. So, when do you when are you most likely to be productive?
Usually early in the morning. I get up, have my cup of coffee, and I go right straight to the computer, and I sit down. And a lot of times, Doc, during the course of the evening, this mind is creating and thinking and dwelling on the book. So I try to get to it early, but I will dabble with it all through the course of the day if I don't have too many interferences with the daily activities and whatnot.
Well, you've demonstrated something that is a critical quality for successful writers. And just anybody who's watching you and watching your reaction to this interview will know that you love what you do and you love your stories. So
It's become a passion. It really has.
if you are your first audience, you're already successful.
Oh, thanks, Doc. But my upcoming novels, my heart is jumping for joy, waiting to get into those next four. They're going to be
It sounds wonderful. Well,
heartwarming stories.
should we have any aspiring Hollywood producers out there pay attention? Uh,
Well, I don't know if you heard. Once the sequel is done, they have a movie producer that's waiting to take a look at the novel.
how wonderful!
To tell you the truth, Doc, when I first started writing this book, I started writing it as a movie script, and I was, I don't know, three-quarters of the way into the book when it dawned on me that, oh my gosh, I probably need to redo the book into a novel form, which I've never even written a novel. So I had to go back and alter all my writings to turn it into chapters instead of scenes.
So it began as a screenplay.
It began as a screenplay because I could envision this as a full length action movie. I see it very clearly, very clearly. So who knows, Doc?
So, Bruce, I'm hoping that this is only one of several interviews because I just thought a wonderful idea for us, and that is, and it might be fun for our audience too. Here is a gentleman who's lived a heroic life, who's got had an adoring wife and adoring children and grandchildren, and has served us in various ways. I'm sure you've had patients in the hospital that remember you, uh, and and has transformed himself into what I hope will be a successful novelist and screenwriter. So part of the excitement here is maybe coming back to you in a bit and finding out how the progress is going in the sale of your novel and your screenplay.
That would be great. They're working at producing and getting this out there. I'm humbly hoping that folks will read the book and discover that underlying purpose and reason. It is a Kindle. It is. I think they're turning it into an ebook,
Mm-hmm.
and I just found out that it's in Barnes and Noble and Walmart and a lot of other venues globally. They've put this out all over. And my I don't know if you saw my website, brucehanlon.com. It explains the book and about me, and has a wonderful movie trailer about the book, and the blip on the time error.
So those of you out there that want to access that is Bruce Hanlon, HANLON.com. Well, Bruce,
And I look forward to blogs and people's thoughts as you do with your writing.
so thank you so much for sharing your story, and we have to promise each other that this will only be one of several interviews. I want to keep this story going because it's delightful.
I would love it. I would love that. Thank you for what you do.
So what I would ask you to do is, you have my phone number, and get in touch with me maybe in a couple of weeks or so when this thing evolves, and we'll see if we can set up another podcast. It's been an absolute delight.
That would be great.
Okay.
Thank you for what you do, Doctor. I greatly appreciate it. I've never done anything like this before. So this is a wonderful experience.
All right. Be well, my friend. Thank you so much.
Yes, likewise. Take care.
Bye bye.